My apologies, Ambassador, but if I may. Baden spread his hands. I think I might be confused. Don't Bonthans wear symbols of their ranks on their carapace? I see no insignia for Fleet Admiral on Nuro. The Arkan ambassador paused, beginning to understand the tack of Baden's questioning. Nuro was stripped of her rank and title when she boarded the station, Ambassador. If I understand, Ambassador Herculean, wouldn't that make former Admiral Nuro a civilian and not a member of the council? Wouldn't that mean that Nuro is entitled to all the rights and protections that league law allows? Baden raised his voice, reaching the crowd. We don't have to listen to this predator. Mokhtub growled, but Herculean held up a gnarled claw. Ambassador Woods is correct. With Nuro stripped of council rank, she is effectively a civilian under the law. She may find representation from a licensed council. Good luck finding someone willing to represent this traitor. Mokhtub sneered. I don't think that will be a problem, Baden said, walking toward Nuro and her two guards, who suddenly looked very nervous. I'm licensed to practice law in Dreeden space and pursuant to the mutual privilege clause of the Assemblage Charter, which considers Assemblage Council chambers the shared territory of all League members. I believe that you'll find that I'm licensed here as well. Baden stopped in front of Nuro, looking up at the huge Bonthan that towered above him. Hello Nuro. I heard you could use a lawyer. Let's break Mokhtub's story down, Ambassador Woods said, leaning over the conference table in the Dreeden embassy. They were in one of the few meeting rooms there, large enough to accommodate a full-size Bonthan like Nuro, who, standing opposite Woods, towered over its other occupants. A Dreeden medic had set up a ladder in front of her and dabbed at Nuro's carapace, where her medals had been torn out. To Woods' right sat Ambassador Nesh, who was typing furiously on a holopad in front of him. At the room's door, two Dreeden guards stood watch. To pull this off, Mokhtub has built a very complex lie, which works in our favor, Woods continued. It gives us more threads to pick at, more angles we can disprove. If we can poke holes in any part of this story, his whole narrative falls apart and we can clear Nuro and bring him down. Holes won't be enough, Baden. Nesh shook his head. We're going to need something conclusive here. As a human, you're naturally skeptical of claims made by an authority figure. You expect them to deceive, to tell half-truths. Sometimes, I think your entire Republic Senate runs on it. The League Council, though, for all their faults, tends to meet issues head-on, with very little obfuscation. They are not wired for deceit the way humans are. And if Mokhtub can come up with an explanation for any of the issues we raise, they are likely to believe it. No, raising doubts or questioning Mokhtub's credibility won't be sufficient. We need to irrefutably disprove Mokhtub's story, and for that, we're going to need evidence. Nesh pushed his holopad toward Baden. And this is how we're going to get it. Baden's brow furrowed as he looked at Nesh's datapad, which showed a diagram of the inner ring of the assemblage, centered on the Bonthan embassy and its docking ports, one of which was occupied by a Bonthan courier ship. You want to board the courier ship? Why? Because the courier ship had a copy of the original battle recording on it. Nuro broke in. That was the point of sending Mokhtub ahead of the fleet, so he could give a full accounting of the battle, along with a transmission from the ration that confirmed they were predators. That's right, Nesh agreed. And it's aboard the courier ship that Mokhtub must have fabricated the fake battle record. While the content was clumsy, to create a holo projection that is indistinguishable from a real one takes some real computing time. Even if we don't find the actual recording, there may be traces of the editing left, a digital footprint that we can match to the file. Mokhtub would also need one of my officers to authenticate the data record. There are security measures in place to help prevent fabrications like Mokhtub's. Each ship has a unique encoded signature that is assigned to its logs. For Mokhtub to pass his version of the battle recording off as genuine, he would need to place it back into the memory files of the flashing hooves with a bridge officer's authentication. Nuro fidgeted as the Dreeden medic swabbed at one of the holes in her carapace where her medals had been removed. We need to find my crew. You're saying that Moktop would have needed to bring his falsified recording back onto the flashing hooves? Baden nodded thoughtfully. That gives us another avenue to pursue. At the moment though, I think plan A should be the courier ship. It will be much easier to try and get what we need from it than trying to infiltrate a Bonthan dreadnought. Baden steepled his fingers. I'll have my people try to find what they can on the location of the Flashing Hooves bridge crew. Plan B will be to try and get aboard the Flashing Hooves itself and try to find evidence that Moktop planted the fabricated battle recording. So, if we don't turn anything up on the crew, our options are to obtain illegal evidence by somehow breaking into a Bonthan courier ship, or to sneak aboard the flagship of the League battle fleet. Nesh sighed, typing into his holopad. I hate your plans, Baden. Are they always this bad? Nuro asked dubiously. Always. Baden ignored them. I'll contact my marine detail, they'll work up a plan to break into the courier ship. Nesh held up a tentacled limb in protest. Baden, with all due respect, I've seen your marines, and they're about as subtle as a sledgehammer. Let my people handle this. If it goes well, Moktop will never know they were there. Baden looked thoughtful, then nodded. Have your team hurry, we have 11 hours before the council reconvenes. Dielm pushed himself off from the outer airlock handhold into empty space. Below him, he watched as the airlock entrance on the surface of the assemblage shrunk as he floated away from the station, untethered. With a flick of a tentacle on each arm, he triggered tiny bursts of compressed air from nozzles on his energy-absorbent skinsuit, turning him in space to face the gray-green planet that the assemblage orbited. The planet filled his view with tendrils of banded clouds stretching from horizon to horizon. Here and there, he could see tiny pinpricks of light through gaps in the clouds, signs of the enormous cities that speckled the planet's surface. Silhouetted against the backdrop of the planet, Dielm caught sight of his unit, 5 tiny figures motionless in space. He activated his nozzles again and propelled himself towards them. Few Dreden enjoyed EVA. Besides the ever-present fear of going Dutchman, being left tumbling through empty space. For a Dreden, there was also the ominous feeling of being terribly exposed. Dreden psychologists said that this instinctual fear had to do with their ancestral predators on their home planet. Huge winged reptilian creatures that would swoop down upon unwary Dreden. Dielm didn't know if he believed that, what was why going EVA made him uneasy. But at least, he had an excuse for the jitters he felt right now. Author's name and the link to original text is in the description. Consider tapping the thumbs up and pressing the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video.